Hello YouTube, Millennium X17 here. Time for some side content hero number 3. So, first and foremost, I think this is the last part I will mention it, and from here on and out, it'll just be, given that I'll have done it, but just lots of wandering. Out of all the side content I do, the vast majority of it is me just literally wandering around. But neither here nor there. So off to Michael, and the first thing first is a purchase of some ammunition stock. Did about $175,000 of it, and since I've done so, it has not moved an inch. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with it. I'll just sit on it for now. Then off to the Angry Lady. This time, I actually won, so we can at least move on from that. From there, I switch over to Franklin, where his girlfriend, whom I can't even remember her name, but she broke up with him officially now. And then, gasp, lo and behold, JD's still in the crack house. So it's everybody's favorite tow truck, and it was pretty much, pretty easy actually. It wasn't anything hard, which I like that. So anyway, after that, after a little more wandering, we wandered on down to Smoke on the Water, where I, at this point in time, decide to pretty much blow most of Franklin's money and purchase the property. So it's pretty interesting. From there, more wandering. Eventually, I find my way up to the countryside with Franklin, where I come across a question mark for Franklin, and it's the stranger called Omega. Really weird hippie guy, but at the end of this meeting, it's the part that gives us the information to find the UFO parts, so it's actually pretty good. We found that. From there, we go to Trevor, whom I just, after seeing him all this time in the same clothes he's been wearing, it just looks like really disgusting, dirty pajamas is what it looks like he's been wearing. So I'm like, you know what, I want to get him some new clothes. Most everything I came across made him look like a trucker. I just don't know why it was that it worked out that way, but you know how it is. I did finally find some stuff. Blue jeans and t-shirt. Pretty simple, nothing fancy, but it works. From there, we head off to do some ATV races. This first one here, pretty, like, for the vast majority of all the ATV off-road races I've done are pretty easy. So from there, we actually run across a random hitchhiker, where I actually was on an ATV at the time, but I had to then quickly jack an SUV just because she wouldn't get on the back of the ATV, which that's, understandable. This drive from where I picked her up to where I brought her to her house, is this conversation that goes between Trevor and this hitchhiker was just special, is what I'll say, because it's just interesting how the conversation degrades as the further, closer to her house we get, the more mental we find out that she actually is, which was interesting nonetheless. Upon getting up in this area, I eventually get to the town on the northern end of the state of San Andreas, where I come across an ammunition, but then all of a sudden a random security van comes across my attention. It's like, oh, well, let's try to, take it, see what happens, how well this will go. But upon running to it, it takes off. So, but it leads me by this interesting building, though, which was emanating this really weird sound. So I just wandered up the fire escape stairs, and lo and behold, inside, I believe it was the second or third floor on this building, was a UFO part. So I was like, okay, that's cool. At this point in time, I head back to Trevor's house. It was this weird thing where I forget exactly what I was meant to do, but I come across this beanbag thing, and it's like, it says, oh, sniff the beanbag, and he just takes a big old breath, and then screen goes weird, and then, yeah, we wake up and find ourselves somewhere off on a mountain trail by the observatory, which is, like, interesting enough. On my way back to Trevor's house, I come across a random event a shootout between police and some suspects, and the police gun down the suspects. The suspects both drop 2 cases. Each case gave about $5,000. So I just ran across, grabbed both cases, quickly jacked an SUV, and at which point in time they chased me with a 3-star wanted level. It's pretty much what I expected. Getting into a chase out in the countryside is pretty much a pain in the ass. But I came across it, I went with it. It was pretty good stuff. So from there, I head on off to the question mark that was above Trevor's house, which turned out to be his, I'm guessing, a friend or neighbor of his called Cletus, who had us do some target practice with a sniper rifle, which was, everybody knows how I am with sniper rifles. But neither here nor there, is pretty good stuff. And it's at this point in time that actually I'll tip my hand. This happened earlier. But I'm putting it at the end because it's an interesting rant that I just have to get off my chest. Is earlier when I was driving around randomly as Franklin, I came across a random event where it was two strangers. It was a father and a son. The father's house was right around the corner, but the son was on the other side of town, and they were both hammered, right? So the father asks Franklin to, hey, can you drive my son home? He's in no condition to do so. And it's at this point in time that I'm listening to the conversation between Franklin and this drunk guy, which I didn't even get his name, but it just occurs to me that for as much as the media would like to demonize Grand Theft Auto, there's this random event that the media will never see. The media will never, understand it because they never play it. They just demonize it for being a murder simulator, or in the case of a later mission, a torture simulator, which, yeah, that was groovy, not really. But it's just, as I'm driving him home, it's just this little event of just a random event of just coming across and doing a good deed, in the fact that you're like, I'm huge against drunk driving in general, which is just a bad thing. Don't do it. It's really fucking stupid. But just the fact is, as demonized as this game is, there's a section of the game that most people may not even see, because you have a choice to even skip over it altogether, but you literally do the right thing and drive the guy home. And upon time of getting home, he then passes out in front of his door. He doesn't even make it in his house. It's like, at this point in time, I'm thinking to myself, I don't even feel like I should even steal this guy's truck. So naturally, of course, I go around the block and steal someone else's SUV. But how it is in Grand Theft Auto. But again, it's just something really interesting. It's just of how Rockstar, as demonized as they are for putting the nasty, negative stuff that they put in the game, is that they took the time to put in something good, which is just awesome. And I will finish off with this part of side content here with a little something that happened after the ATV race that I had with Trevor. Now, I was really far ahead, but what happened when I crossed the finish line was something interesting, is what I'll say. His truck spawned in at the finish line, and, well, all the people then in the off-road race crossed the finish line at the time, and, well, hilarity ensued. So, until next time, you guys have yourselves a good day.